Okay, everyone, thank you for joining us. It is January 31st. So, wow, the month went by really, really fast. I think this is going to be a very fast year. So, we've been telling everybody the conference call yesterday, conference call last week. Be prepared to do your marketing right now. Marketing is really important in February because real estate season starts, in mid-March. And with the weather that we're having here in the Northwest, I mean, everyone's seeing really nice weather. Portland, Seattle, Boise. So we're seeing some fantastic weather. I could see people starting to list houses early. Who knows what's going to happen? Of course, it's the Northwest, and crazy weather does happen in the spring. Okay, so today's webinar is on electronic transactions, e-signatures, and transaction desk. And my apologies to all of you in Oregon. Um, Different forms in Oregon, so just kind of bear with me. We're in, as you probably heard if you were listening to Megan, we are in a dozen states. And so I see a lot of different forms. I can tell you that they're all the same for the most part. Just things are in different areas. Idaho and Oregon, you've got the financing addendum in the purchase and sale. Washington, that's separate. Florida, that's separate. So there's just different pages to all kind of the same flowing thing, which is a purchase and sale agreement. Now, what we want to focus on today is the transaction desk. So transaction desk is used here in Spokane, here in the Northwest MLS, Coeur d'Alene, use Form Simplicity, but they also use Transaction Desk, and then Boise, the Idaho Association of Realtors, prefers Transaction Desk. So I'm going to do everything through Transaction Desk. I realize Form Simplicity is different. That's okay. Just kind of bear with me. For the most part, it's the same stuff. I use Transaction Desk to replace DocuSign because it's free. So I don't have to pay for DocuSign, and then we go ahead and just do it through Transaction Desk. And again, I apologize. I've got the driest of throats. I've got water right here. And that was Alex asking if I was okay. Just really dry throat, and I just partially the weather and partially me. But we'll bear through it. Just think of me as a smoker, which I'm not. Okay, so electronic transactions are the way everything is going right now. We all know that. We know that technology has basically taken real estate and brought it to us. Meaning that if you're as old as I am and you've been around as long as I have there's books that we used to get. I mean, just big old pallet of books would come once a week, and that was all the listings. And we had to be in the office to get those. We had to go through those books. We would look at fellow agents' listings. You didn't know if it was contingent. I mean, a lot of phone calls. You'd have to keep calling and calling and calling just to find out basic information. That's all gone away. So all that basic information is now in our computer. So we have computers and smartphones that we can take anywhere with us. We can use hotspot from our smartphones and open up our computer, pull over the side of the road, which I do a lot. If I'm driving to one of our markets, Boise or Portland or wherever, if I get a call and it's an emergency and I got to check my computer, I'll just pull over and get on hotspot, and boom, all that information's right there. And you can also digitally sign, as you guys know. So there was a transition really about 3 years ago where it's like, oh, we still want wet signatures, but you don't really need them now. Everyone has moved over to electronic signatures, transaction desk, and so on and so forth. Right now in the mortgage industry, we're still waiting for electronic signatures to become the norm. Right now we're kind of at that 50-50 spot where some lenders are allowing it, other lenders are saying, hey, we still want a wet signature, or we want electronic signatures on 98% of the documents, but these last two we want a wet signature on. So we're still kind of moving in that direction, but ultimately technology is here to stay, so we might as well embrace it, use it, understand it, all that good stuff. And once you do, it's really fantastic. I mean, I do a lot of stuff in Transaction Desk. So as you guys know, I will talk, so let's keep everybody muted. And if you have a question, go ahead and use the chat room, and we'll get to your question as we go. It's an open forum. It's not just me talking, so I do like questions. And if you want to go back and revisit something, that's fine too. Again, it's a forum for all of us to kind of learn a little bit more and become a little bit more proficient. So let's get into transaction desk. Ta-da! Make sure I follow. A new listing. You know what? Actually, I'm going to real quickly go into the new listings as well. So I've got transaction desk, and Paragon is what Spokane uses. We've got 5 or 6 different MLSs that use Paragon. Our MLS is its own thing. Northwest MLS uses Matrix, and so on and so forth. The Flex MLS is used a lot out there too. So when you're doing a listing, pretty simple. You go in, you add a listing, let's say residential, and you basically fill out all this information. So there's a property data form you can fill out by hand and send it to the MLS, and they'll fill this out for you, typically for a nominal charge, $5, $6, $7. But all these fills are pretty self-explanatory. R means required, P means partial save. So your status, you want to basically say new listing, save, duplicate listing, no, potential short sale, no, and then your name pops up, and then obviously address and purchase price or offering price. Subtype here, residential, site built, and so on and so forth. So you fill out your listing. You got a brand new listing, fantastic. You want to make sure that all your paperwork is complete, so that you have a listing agreement. By law, every state you have to have one. And then you can go ahead and fill out the listing. You can order a preliminary title. Make sure the seller disclosure, the property disclosure form is filled out. Lead-based paint if it's older than 1978. Exhibit A if it's in Washington, and so on and so forth. Every state has a few different forms and a little bit of variety here and there. So make sure that you understand the forms that you need to fill out for a listing. If you don't, give me a shout. So you fill this all out, very self-explanatory, zip, county, et cetera, et cetera. It'll tell you what's required and what you have to do for a partial listing. Legal, you could say see Exhibit A if you are going to use Exhibit A. Otherwise, just copy and paste the legal description. A trick of the trade, if you guys are newer, when you're doing a listing, go back and pull up an address. In fact, I can do it here. Let's go home. And I will pull up, so for my house, South Magnolia. Okay, so there's my house. All the photos are still in. This is from 10 years ago, so it doesn't look like that anymore. Hopefully it looks nicer. This guy's kind of funny. This guy used to own the Davenport Hotel. Back here is like a big silver turkey platter thing from the hotel, and this was a 120-year-old antique against the wall. He wanted me to buy all that stuff for tens of thousands of dollars, and I said, no way, Jose. So it was kind of goofy. An elk from the old Davenport Hotel, and so on and so forth. But the point is, for this, you've got all this information here that you can see from a previous listing. So acres, 0.3, or 13,192. Verify that, of course, with county records. So assessed square footage, which is the upper level, lower level included is 4,600. Year built 1968. So you can get a lot of information from this thing, and you can also cut and paste. Now, do not cut and paste public remarks. Okay, if I just do this and I cut and paste that into my new, so for example, if I just do copy, and then I go to my listings, and I hit public remarks, paste, well there, I just used Hal Green's public remarks from 10 years ago, and that's a no-no. So I want to create my own public remarks, but legal you can go back here, and you can do, let's see, legal description. There it is right there. I can copy, go over to listings, paste, bam. So there's a legal description. and so on and so forth. So you can just search information and do that. I won't get, again, I don't want to get too far into this because I want to get to the electronic parts and the transaction desk electronic signatures more than the listing. So trick of the trade, and there you have it. So fill out your listing. Now you've got a new listing. And what you want to do is go over to transaction desk. And let's do the paperwork for a new listing. So let's create a transaction. Name on it is going to be Joe Kelly. Yes. Oh, too loud? Oh.
We're too loud.
Okay, shut the door. Megan's shutting the door for us. Residential listing. Source. Let's do tax records. So what's the tax ID? Aha, I can go back to that old listing and get the tax ID. Here it is right here. Copy, back to transaction desk, paste, and I'm going to be the listing broker. Create. Okay, so it is, it's created a new listing. My wife will kill me if I'm actually listing our house, so this is just for education purposes. 4604 South Magnolia, Spokane, zip code, tax ID, built in 1968. Good, good, good. And go details next. List date, we're going to do today. Expiration date, we're going to do tomorrow, February 1. Purchase and sale, that's not happening yet. Offer, not happening yet. Closing, possession, none of that's happening. So we'll leave those blank. Now, so we have seller Joseph and Mary Kelly, listing broker Joe Kelly, Kelly Wright Real Estate. There's a lot of Kellys in there. I apologize. Let's go to next. Wizard forms. Okay, so this is where we want to add forms. Let me move that around. This little button right here, add all statewide forms. And the ones I kind of listed off. So I'm going to do exclusive sale and listing agreement. I am going to do, my house is 1968, so I am going to do lead-based paint. Seller disclosure. Some states we call it a property disclosure. I'll probably come across a state that is property, disclosure of property, disclosure of, I mean, there's all sorts of different ways to say it, but every state requires this form where they basically are filling it out, what the property is, what problems they've had in the past, and basically just being honest and truthful about their property. And that's the key, honest and truthful, ethical, legal, moral. Sometimes it's so hard for people to kind of skirt that line. Don't be those people, and make sure that you just advise your client to answer it honestly, ethically, and then it will be legal. If they don't know, they don't know too. I get that a lot where sellers are like, well, I don't know. Well, there's a box that says don't know. So fill it out. Just say don't know. But they do, the ones that get nervous about it, I like, because they're going to be honest and truthful. A lot of things can happen with those seller disclosures. I'll go into a quick story. One time years ago, seller disclosure did not disclose flooding, and they had a pool. And the insurance company found out that there was a flooding claim, crack in the foundation, crack in the pool, water came in, big mess. And they openly said no on that seller disclosure. Has there been any flooding? And so that really set them up for legal liability. It didn't end up there. They ended up paying for some stuff and fixing it that way, but you just want to be careful. You want to make sure your clients fill that out properly, and don't give them advice on what they're filling out. You can give them advice on, okay, if you don't know, mark don't know. Just real simple stuff. Okay, so lead-based paint, 22J is the form here in Washington. So I want to do that because the house is 1968. I can do identification of utilities, but I don't want to. It'll confuse people in different states. And that can be filled out at any point, which is basically, it's no big deal if it's in the city and you've got Seattle City Light and power. But if you're out in the country and you've got a PUD or some odd little energy company, that's where it really can help at closing, because you make sure that all utilities are paid. And so on and so forth. We don't want to get to do too many of these. Inspection escalation, no. Sometimes there is an escalate or a pre-inspection agreement. Like in Seattle, those of you in Seattle, things are so expensive there and they move so fast within hours, multiple offers. Pre-inspections are the way people do stuff. So that way you've got an inspection report, they can make their offer based on that, and they don't tie the house up for 10 days. And that's primarily it. So we just want to, let me say this real quickly. Agency disclosure, if you are doing dual agency, you have to, in writing, inform all parties of that dual agency, okay? So make sure that they know you're representing both parties neutrally. You are the Switzerland of real estate agents, and that you're not going to share any facts that could harm the other party. But agency disclosure is really important if you are dual agent. And then selling firm's commission if it's a FSBO or for sale by owner. If you ever run into one of those and the owner's like, yeah, I'll pay you your 3%, but I'm not paying total commission. Excuse me. You need to have that in writing. And this is where you can do that. Selling firm's commission puts all the details in there, what the commission is going to be. Okay, so let's add these forms to our listing. Great. Now let's hit next. Facts, we don't need a fact sheet. That's from years gone by. Done. Okay, so we have a new listing. Okay, let's go to the details. Okay, everything looks good there. Listing price. So my wife would like to get a lot for it. I'll say $650,000. Purchase price, we don't know what that's going to be. We're listing it today, and again, all this stuff we don't know. So transaction status open. Good. Now, let's see, we want to save this, I believe. Why is it not showing me what I need to do here? Email, upload, contact. I thought there was a save here, but there isn't. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so the listing here, we've got this information, we've got these documents. So let's sign them. I'm about to leave this page. Would like to save changes. Yes, there we go. I knew there had to be a save form in there. Add authentisign. Signing name, Joe Kelly. Oops. Kelly. And transaction, Joe Kelly. Okay, so let's save that. Okay, voila, here we are in the signing section of Transaction Desk. So this is where we have these 4 steps, and this is where you can basically do anything you want. You could even, even if it was a bill of sale for a generator to your Uncle Fred in Miami, you can use Transaction Desk. I send a lot of stuff over Transaction Desk. I just create a transaction, then I design it, I upload a PDF and say, hey, can you sign here? And then it comes right back to me. So I use it for more stuff than just real estate. Okay, so but here we've got Joe Kelly, and the participants are going to be Joe Kelly. We'll just say, okay, so Joe Kelly is the reviewer as the listing broker. So we're going to just do reviewer, but Joseph and Mary are going to be the signers. Okay, so we're going to do that. This is the goofiest thing about this program is you literally have to click on it 3 times. It's almost like Dorothy and Oz. So I clicked on it 4 or 5 times, and now it gets me the page that I want. And in the page that I want, let's see here, name, I better change this. So let's do Joe, and let's do Kelly. And then my email address. Oops, I don't know how to type. There we go. Okay, so in this thing, check the name, because the name can be backwards, it can be Kelly Joe. You want it to be exactly as they're going to sign it. So in this case, I'd probably put Joseph if it were real, just because that's kind of my legal name and that's what's on the title report. That's why it's nice to pull the title report to see what legal names are on there. And then you want them all to match. If it's Joseph T. Kelly, then I want to have Joseph T. Kelly on these documents, and then on my loan documents, I want to have Joseph T. Kelly. You want all that to match. Otherwise, you have to start doing AKA affidavits and a bunch of other stuff to kind of clean it up. That can be a pain. So just make sure the names match. We're going to save participant. Aha, so now I have it. So I've got this pen here that shows Joe Kelly is going to sign, but then I've got this magnifying glass where Joe Kelly, the agent, the listing agent, is just going to review it. I did this with a seller of mine. He was 94 years old, a neighbor of mine, lived in Tucson, and his son was a banker in New York. So his son reviewed everything. I would send him stuff. He had a son in Tucson as well that would help him sign it electronically, get on the computer, get to his email and all that. And then his other son, the banker, wanted to review everything. So I just added him as a reviewer. And if he thought something was off or wrong, then he could tell me and I could change it. I haven't looked at you guys for chat room for a while. Anything? Switzerland. Yes, Lynn. Dave, welcome. Okay, we're moving along nicely. God, this is the worst. My throat is just, it's like that dry tickle. I'm not sick. It's just a weird dryness. So hopefully it's not bugging you guys too much. It's bugging me. Okay, documents. So we got the signing correct. Now we want to look at the documents. And it might be one of these documents. It might be all of them. In this case, we do want all of them. Or I could just do this. Okay. Instanet forms. Let's add them. Ta-da! Oh, whoa, what did you do? Close. There we go. This is a good sign here because these little yellow boxes show that the signing part of these documents is already kind of filled out. Now I'll show you how to do it, to drag and drop a signature on like a PDF. But let's double check these to make sure, because this is where you can you can really find the information that they're going to be signing. Okay, so I can't see it very well. You guys probably definitely can't see it. I don't know if I can expand this or not. But I kind of see Joseph and Mary Kelly, Kelly Wright Real Estate of Spokane, the listing agreement. Joe Kelly is the agent. Oh, you know what? Okay, this is a good example. I don't have the commission in here. So I'm like, oh, good golly. I can't do this. I've got to go back and change something. So I'm going to go back to my documents. Joe Kelly. Oh, good golly. We're at forms. There we go. Okay, so I got the forms. I want to pull this sucker up. And so that's a good place to catch any mistakes that you made, because you don't want to send it over twice. So double check and make sure everything's clean. I'm like, oh, that's not really clean. Why don't we do Joe Kelly as the seller and Mary Kelly as the seller. Kelly Wright Real Estate of Spokane is the firm, the date, listing term, until midnight of that date. Remember, every contract has to have the names. Oh, I do see these now. Does T-Dashboard the same? Let me get to your question, Lynn. iPad as it does on my desktop. I think so. I mean, it should. I don't know why it would work any differently. The only thing I would do with that, Lynn, is if it doesn't work, because I've been seeing a lot of this lately, if it doesn't work, use a different browser. So instead of Google Chrome, use Explorer or Firefox. Some programs just work better with others. I use Google Chrome and it seems to work just fine. but I could see Google Chrome and Apple having some sort of issue and messing your computer up. I don't know. That's the conspiracy theorist in me, but it should work okay. Okay, so Joe Kelly, Mary Kelly. Contracts always have a name, they have a date and an end date, and then they have signatures, and then obviously the meat of the contract. Everything looks good. Joe Kelly is the agent. The list date is today, so it auto-filled. And here's what I forgot. I forgot to go, oh, okay, the commissions. What are you going to pay, Mr. Seller, to me, to our company, Kelly Wright, and then what are we going to pay to the selling office? The SOC selling office commission, the selling firm. For those of you not in Washington State, it's a real pain. Someone, very arrogant bureaucrat somewhere down the road thought the selling agent should be the one representing the buyer, and the listing agent should be the one representing the seller. That makes it confusing. Other states, just by the way, other states don't do that. They just, you're a listing agent, you're a selling agent. So Washington State has got some goofy bureaucrats, I tell you. Okay, so this one, 6%. That's a traditional real estate commission. So don't make the mistake of putting 3 in here. It can be a nightmare when it comes down to closing. And your client's like, well, I told you 3%, or you signed 3%. And you're like, well, that's 3% to me. There's 3% to the other firm. And he could go back to the contract and go, no, it's 3%. That's all I'm paying. So then you'd probably have to give up, if you advertise 3% in the MLS, you'd have to give up your entire commission. So we don't want to do that. 6% there, cooperating firm, 3%. Okay? And again, you can adjust this any way you want. We don't make any money on you guys really for the transactions. So if you want to do 4 and 2, something like that, that's fine. And so now it looks pretty good. There's nothing really under sole owner. Yes, I'll mark that. Okay, now I'm going to save this. Where am I saving? File, save, save. Okay, that looks a lot better. So now I can go back to the signing. See that little pen right there? And here we are back at this guy. I am going to, oh, wait, close. Let me make sure this uploaded because I'm not sure it did. No, it didn't. Okay, close. So we're gonna have to, I'm gonna have to redo documents. I'm gonna X out of this, okay. X out of this. And then I'm gonna add document. Joe Kelly forms and documents. And I'm just gonna add this one. The other ones I've got in here. So I'm gonna add that. Okay. Now when I open this up, it should have the commissions in there. Oh, what is that? What am I? Oh, seller disclosure. Okay, here it is, over here. I had to get in line again. There it is. I know you guys can't see that, but I can see a little 6, and I can see the 3. I can see Joe Kelly and Mary Kelly. So I changed that, and everything looks good. So okay, that looks good. These other pages, I think, will still have Joseph and Mary Kelly on there, but I don't want to go back and change them. We want to keep this session moving. Okay, so we don't need to add any more. If you did need to add a PDF, you can upload it from your desktop. And I'm going to go ahead and just do this, just because it's a PDF. There, I've got that. Now saying, rotate landscape, I don't care about that. So there is a PDF, just an email of our Pantone colors. Those are the colors in our logo. A pretty benign document. Now I'm going to go to design. Design is where you can change and manipulate the signatures and the initials. Again, in Exhibit A, if it's a PDF, this is where you would do it. And I should have caught that before, put the seller in, me and Mary to do that, and then all this information. is occupying the property, and then we would fill all this stuff out. And then we would sign. So there's the initials, 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 and then this page should be a signature. Then the final page, just on the buying side, you want to acknowledge that you've read it, but you don't want to waive your rights, okay? So if you're representing the buyer, you want to do it right there on that line. Okay, so this is good. Let's see, next. Oh wait, no, I don't want to do that. I still want to design. Because I wouldn't want to design that PDF. I want to show you how we do that. Yeah, I can read. 11-page document. I needed to keep scrolling. Okay. Keep on scrolling. Okay. So here we've got blank, buyer, and seller. A seller is us. Buyer's blank, and the date of the contract is blank because this is just to upload into the MLS as a listing. So we've got this, we've got this. You know what? If I want to drag and drop a signature, I can do it right there. So let's say, yeah, let's say this is Mary's signature. I would do that. Oops. And then I would drag and drop a date right there. Okay. So, and then initials there, and exclusive agency, that looks good. So here's the PDF. So the PDF, that doesn't have anything on here, okay? But I need to get it initialed. So I'm going to do initial and drag it there, and I'm going to date it there, okay? So that basically is just a simple initial you're slapping on there. You can also do an X. You know, if there's a box to mark, let's go up here to, okay, seller disclosure, lead-based paint. So we would do an X, seller has no knowledge, an X, seller has no knowledge, or no reports. So you can also drag and drop in a little X as well. So there's a bunch of different things you can do here. But primarily sign, initial, and date. Those are the ones you want to do. So now we've got our PDF done, and we're going to hit next. Okay, now you can customize your invitation. Put that in there. Subject, Joe, sign here. Save that. And then send. It'll automatically send to the email address that you had in there. Okay. So now, okay. So now we've got all of that finished. This little lightning bolt here means it's in the network. It's on the internet. It's on the line, as Alex would say. It is out there. So until you get it signed and authenticated, this symbol will remain a lightning bolt. So now it's going out there, and let's check my email. Okay. Let's see. Hopefully it comes through. I'll let it load up. Oh, it is loading. Okay. Okay. So you can see this invitation to review documents. That would be me as a listing agent. Okay. Do you see image? Click here to begin the signing process. I think this is the one where I'm reviewing, but it might actually be the signature document. In terms of service, I accept. Okay, so no, I can't sign anywhere. I'm just looking at this, accept or reject. So I'm reviewing it. I'm Joe Kelly's long lost brother in Europe, and we just share the same name. So I'm reviewing it. Everything looks good. I'll accept it. Accept documents. Great, no thanks. Now let's go back to my other email. And this is going to Joe Kelly, the seller. I've got a participant invitation. I want to click here. 29 signing blocks. Oh God. What is my? An email has been sent to you containing the PIN. Okay. Now let's hopefully it comes through quickly. Okay. Dang it! I have not had to do this before. Sent to sign. So let's go back in here. Send receive. Of course, technology won't work when I need it to. Well, all right, it'll let me know when that comes through. Okay, let me check questions. Thanks, Dave. Hope Dave and Lynn are having a conversation. Oh, good. Sharing info. We like that. Okay, good. That got covered. And I don't know why, you guys. I don't know why I can't get this to go. If you do not see image below, click. My email got frozen up. So that's no good. There's the signing pin. Let me get out of here, and then I'm going to come back in. Oh, technology, making our lives so easy. Hot in here. I think we've got the thermostat set for winter, and it's going to be like 40-something degrees here. There it is. Okay, so I rebooted. And pin number. Oh, that's the review. Here's the pin. Bingo, 4897000. Well, that's complicated. It's our phone number. Okay, so we've got that. 4897000. Ta-da! There we go. We'll do that. If you want to draw your own signature, you can, but I just accept that. Now let's start. I just have to click on everywhere. I have to initial. I'll click on that box. I'll click on that box. There, 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 and there. Oh, and an initial. Initial. And there's the PDF. Complete signing. Yep. No thanks. It is completed. So I'm going to get out of that. I'm going to get out of that. I'm going to get out of that. And now I'm going to refresh this. Not fast enough. So this little guy right here, now that I've signed it, it's going all back through transaction desk. And here soon, this guy will turn into like a blue ribbon or something like that, if I remember correctly. So let me refresh again. There it is. So I refreshed, and now I've got a blue ribbon, meaning, ta-da, congratulations, everything's been signed. So now I've got these documents in the contract. I can go back here. I can go to the documents, dashboard, documents. And let's go to the 1A. And there are all those signatures right there. Okay, select page, so I can do this. So if you want a paper file, you can print it from here. You can just hit the little print icon, and or you can just save it. If you want to just save as a PDF, make sure you check down here, make sure it's a PDF, rename it and all that, and then some. Okay, so we don't want to do that right now. So I've got these documents back, so I can now list the house. Great, I have the authority now to go ahead and do the listing. So over here on Paragon, this listing, I can complete this and hit save, and it'll actually create the listing in 10 seconds. It'll be live on the MLS, get fed out to all the different IDX feeds, the different websites, to Zillow, to Realtor, just gets, it goes live. You know, of course, make sure that you've ordered a sign, that you've created flyers, that your lockbox, you've got the key. Again, all that stuff should have already been done, because when you go live, it's live. And you might get someone within minutes, especially if you're in Seattle. You can get someone within seconds really calling about it, saying, hey, I want to go out and show it. So you better have a lockbox on there. You better have a key. You better have instructions. You better understand, how fast this thing can move. Is it live nationwide? Yeah, for the most part. I mean, if you're not familiar with IDX, and it's a little confusing, IDX is Interdata Exchange. So every MLS in America has an IDX form and an IDX feed. And so the MLS controls the information. So when someone goes to Zillow, they're actually using a service called Diverse Solutions that has an IDX arrangement with the Spokane MLS and the RMLS and the Northwest MLS in Seattle. So they have an arrangement with all these MLSs, and that information is then fed to their website through the IDX feed controlled by Diverse Solutions. Does that make sense? So again, if you guys have your little website, if it's joekelly.com, joekellyrealestate.com, and I want to have my listings on there, I have to set up an IDX feed with my MLS. So anytime you go to a national website, anytime you go and you find a listing, there is an IDX feed to that website one way or another. So that's how the Interdata Exchange works. So to answer your question, Lynn, when you hit save listing and it's live, everything's filled out completely, bam, yes, Zillow's going to have it within minutes. Century 21 on their website is going to have it within minutes. Everybody and anybody that has those IDX, Kelly Wright, our website will have it. We all get the same feed and basically set it up the same way. Ironically, Diverse Solution, that they handle our IDX feed to our website, same company that Zillow owns and uses. Okay, so your listing is live, you got everything up there, you've got all this paperwork back, and you're set to go. Because Transaction Desk allowed you to get those electronic signatures from your clients in Paris, in Tokyo. So wherever they are, they can sign immediately electronically and have all this paper and information available so that you legally can list the house and that you have the information that a buyer might want, like the seller disclosure, lead-based paint, etc. What I would do in this instance, so for example, the seller disclosure, I would save it. That's print. Save. Why am I not saving? Download. Maybe that's it. Download. There it is. So I download first. I'm going to save it as a PDF on my desktop. Good. So I've got it there. So now what I want to do on my listing, and again, I don't want to spend too much time here. Oh, crud. I've got to do, actually I have to do a partial save. So let me get these P's in here. There's only a few of them. So I'll do that. Where are the green P's? Ah, yes. Listing date today, expiration date tomorrow. More P's. Okay, so let's save it. Save as partial. Okay, so it's given me 2 months and a number that I need to finish this. So I'm going to continue to input because now I can add a document. See over here? Add a document. And now, let's see here, add new. Choose file on my desktop. There it is, right there. Form 17, open. Description, seller disclosure, and save. Okay, so now when someone goes to make an offer on this property I have listed, you've got the seller disclosure right here. They can see it, they can fill it out, and they can send it with their offer. This is where people put the seller disclosure, lead-based paint, Exhibit A, 22K, the utilities, so they can put a lot of information in here. Every MLS, whether it's Matrix or Flex or RMLS, you can upload documents. So you want to kind of familiarize yourself where you're uploading documents, and these are the important documents that you're uploading. And primarily, it's the seller property disclosure and the lead-based paint if it's older than 1978. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that. We are going to get rid of this, and I'm going to go back to transaction desk and close that. Okay, so let's go back to square one. So here's my agent dashboard. I've got all these different deals that I've done. I can go back to those transactions. So this is where I go to basically look at all my information that I've done in the history of my career since Transaction Desk has been a part of my career. And if I want to reference the Joe Kelly file, there it is. I can go to the details. I can go over here and look at forms and documents, the signing history, or I can just go back to the dashboard. No, wait, I'm in the dashboard. Ta-da! Contacts as well. This is where you can put in the email, so it's probably best to make sure your contacts are really clean, and then you won't have to push on that little icon 3 or 4 times. But everything looks good. Back to the dashboard. There it is, all my stuff. Okay, let's take a little breather here. So that is a listing. So we've finished kind of the listing part of it. Now I'm going to get into the buyer offer part of it. So buyer example, we'll do that. Adding forms, uploading PDFs, we've already done all that. Emailing as well. So we're just going to go through the buyer forms, and that should be good. I'm going to turn off my email because I do get a lot of interruptions. Okay, let's check our chat room. Dave and Lynn, you guys have quite a conversation going on. Okay, Dave, how important is it to keep track of the authenticine official footprint or number of a particular document transaction? Well, the law says 3 years, and it varies a little bit. We've got some states that do 4 years, some that do 2, mostly 3 years. So I would say just keep it there. I mean, it's all cloud-based storage, so it's not affecting you at all. Just, you should keep it in transaction desk. Okay. No more questions. Let's get on to buyer stuff. Oh, now I'm exhausted. All right, so how do I want to do this? I think we'll create a new transaction. Well, crud. Let's do this. So in Paragon, so what I want to do is I want to go back and I'm going to look at my house, 4604 Magnolia. It's not for sale. I mean, I'm just wondering if it's going to mess with me because it's not for sale. I think it's okay. I think we're okay. So I'm going to use this as an example. So again, I just sold my house. Now I'm going to buy it back. So Joe Kelly, the listing agent, is going to help Joe Kelly. Actually, we'll do this. Joe Kelly, the buyer agent. Okay, so I'm going to write this down because my memory is not so good. And we'll do Joseph Kelly, the buyer. Okay, so that'll kind of differentiate the two. And we're going to be buying 4604 South Magnolia. We're hoping to anyway. So transaction desk, we go, okay, I want to create a transaction. Name on this, Joseph Kelly. Joseph Kelly. And it's going to be a residential sale. And I'm going to select the source. So I can do Paragon and Spokane MLS or tax records. Let's do tax records. Go back here, get this guy, tax ID. And add me as the selling broker. Create. Okay. Residential sale, all that looks good. Pulling up the information. Listing price was, oh, I forgot, guys, $650. And purchase price, I'm going to offer $649. Okay, next. Purchase and sale date. So we're doing this on January 31st. Offer expiration, we'll do February 1st. Don't have closing. Actually, closing we can do here on the offer. So I want to close it at the end of February, February 28th. Again, try not to close stuff on a Friday because it really, if there's a delay, then all of a sudden, you know, they've signed in the morning, but county records isn't open in the afternoon. So even if there's a courier to get there, you know, you're not going to be able to record it. And that means they're not going to have the house on a weekend. They're probably planning on moving over the weekend. So try not to close deals on Fridays. It just becomes a mess. Can anyway. Possession date on closing. Okay, next. Seller, Joseph and Mary. Selling broker. Okay, next. This is going to get confusing because it did pull Joseph and Mary out. So forms. We want to get our forms in here. That's correct. So let's add forms. Statewide forms. Let's get to, I'm going to keep this one really simple. Just going to do residential purchase and sale, financing addendum, and inspection addendum, which is 35. Inspection. So I'm going to do that. Now I can add more forms. Let's say, oh boy, Form 17 disclosure. So if I want to add it, I can add that as well. You know what, I'm going to add it later. Okay. Okay, so these are the offer forms. So here's where you want to open them up. Make sure you've got the information right. This is where you fill in the blanks and it'll save it just fine. The date, MLS number, put that in there. Offer expiration. The buyer is Joseph Kelly. And the seller is Joseph and Mary Kelly. There's everything else. Stove, whoops. Stove, refrigerator, washer, dryer. $649, earnest money, $6,000 in the form of a check held by the closing agent, not the selling firm. Selling firms are a problem. They can manipulate the money and it makes it harder to get it back. Forfeiture of earnest money is what you want to do. Do Vista Title here in Spokane. Ooh, I can spell. Closing agent, Jessica. And closing date, boom. Services for utilities requested. Actually, we'll waive it since we don't have the form and I don't want to deal with it. This is an important one. Charges, assessments levied before but due after closing. Assumed by the buyer usually. I know that a buyer's like, hey, you know what? They're switching to the sewer line from a septic system. It's a $9,000 assessment, but they're not going to use it. You don't, for the seller to do it and just basically lose $9,000, it doesn't make any sense. I get it that the buyer wants to have the seller pay for that. It's all in the purchase price. I mean, if the buyer's picking it up for $10,000, then an extra $9,000 on, let's say, a $100,000 house makes all the sense in the world. So it depends on where the price is, and it depends on what kind of market it is. If it's a really hot market, you don't want to be asking the seller to do the $9,000 assessment. So if it's levied, if the city of Spokane or the city of Seattle levies it even 2-3 years ago, it's on title, it has to be done, but it's for the buyer, the new buyer, to take possession, and they're responsible for that after closing. Does that make sense? I know I explain things in a weird way. Okay. Okay, so we're getting there. We've got citizenship. FERPTA is just if you're not a citizen of the United States. If you're from China or Germany, then you have to fill out the FERPTA form, foreign something property something. Anyway, you guys can figure that out. Is not a foreign person for purposes of U.S. income tax. Buyer, seller, and then the addenda in here. I'll let you guys fill that out. So here's a lot of information. Here's firm license number, and here's the ID number of the MLS, the company. Here's my lag number with the MLS. Here's my state number in Washington. So all that looks good. And we just got to get the buyer to sign. So we're going to save and move on to the next form. So we go transaction forms. Now we open up financing addendum. And make sure information got transferred. Joseph Kelly buying from Kelly Joseph and Mary. Property address. We're going to be using a conventional first with 1% down. Yes, you guys can do that. 1% down. It's actually, I should take that back. Technically, it's a 3% down program, but the lender's paying for 2 of the percentage points. They do that with a little bit higher interest rate. But it technically is 3%, but you can do 1% down on a conventional loan. And you can do it without mortgage insurance. You can buy that out as well. The key is you can buy a lot of stuff out. You can do a lot of stuff in lending. It just costs you interest rate. So always remember that. 1/4 point to buy out the mortgage insurance. Another 1/4 to 3/8 of a point to do 1% down instead of 3% down. But if you start, let's say the lender, let's say Wells Fargo's at 4 1/4, and for example, K Loans is at 3 3/4. Well, adding those 2 1/4 points puts us back up at 4 1/4. So we've got the same interest rate as Wells Fargo, but we've got 1% down and we bought out the mortgage insurance. Always shop your loan. It's really key. Seller's request for loan information. We're not going to do any of that. We just, loan cost provisions. This is where you ask for the seller to pay for something. Again, a hot market. So typically you want to do 0% or just leave it blank. 0 if not filled in. So be very careful in this hot market. If you're going to ask a seller that's got a well-priced house to pay 3% closing costs, you're probably not going to get it. So you got to be careful about that. But that's where you fill it in if you need to. Everything else looks good. Let's go ahead and save it. And let's go to the last form, inspection addendum. This should be pretty simple. Just check the box, inspection contingency within 10 days. I would like to do a sewer inspection. Scope that sucker out, and everything else is pretty boilerplate. Neighborhood review. One time in Ballard, a house was back behind the high school, and the field lights were on at night. So neighborhood review fell under that, and the buyers were like, wow, we don't want these spotlights shining in on our house at night. So they backed out of that house. Pre-inspection conducted. Again, if you're in Seattle, hot market, pre-inspection has been done. You want to check that box. Waiver of inspection. Do not, how do I phrase this? Do not encourage your buyers to waive the inspection. You will be held liable, and I will be held liable, and I will not be a happy camper if they sue us. This is one where always encourage them to do the inspection. Just always. It's like, look, it's prudent. Do an inspection. If they're a builder, if they have some professional, some professional background, and they're going to gut the place anyway. They don't really care that much what's behind the walls because they're taking the walls out. They're doing all sorts of stuff. That's fine. But this is where you want to go with that waiver of inspection so that they initial and sign that waiver. So if someone doesn't come back to us, and it has happened, we've been sued, and I spent a lot of money because one of our agents talked the buyer out of an inspection. Ultimately, we settled, but it wasn't pretty. And this is where you want to protect us, most importantly, but you just want to protect your buyer by making sure that they get an inspection. And if they don't want to do an inspection, say why. And really kind of, okay, so you're a builder, you're going to do this, great. I'll have you sign this waiver of inspection. and that alleviates a lot of liability. Just so you know, getting sued sucks. Okay, so we try to avoid it at all costs. It's a legal term, Alex. Sucks. Let's see. So we saved. Oh, do that again. So now we want to go. Okay, so we've got our forms in here. Let's see. Transaction desk forms. Good. I want to get to signing. So we're gonna do a new create authentic sign. Okay, signing name. So the buyer is Joseph Kelly, and the transaction is Joseph Kelly. Go to new signing. Save. Okay, we're back at the same spot where we basically are going through these 4 steps, making sure our documents are clean. So the participants. Obviously, we can review and we can sign. In this case, I just want to sign as the buyer, remote signer, add me. Again, I just kind of click through this a few times, and it is incredibly frustrating. Oh, there it is. Okay, there's my email. Put that in there. Save participants. Okay, we're ready there. The documents in our offer. Okay, these are good, but you know what? We want to add documents. Oh wait, documents. Where'd they go? There they are. So we'll add these ones. Oh, I think in the design section we'll add the other ones. Okay, so all of these, we want to go back and double check, make sure they look good. Everything is what we intended it to be. And all that looks like the same as we filled out before, so that looks good. Close. So these will be all the same as well. So here's where we add documents. So for example, on this purchase, we want to add that seller disclosure. So I'm going to close this out. I'm going to go back to the listing, and let's go to listings. Let's go to partials. Let's go to mine. I've got this one right here. This is the partial. Here are the documents. Seller disclosure. I'm going to open that. Okay, I'm going to save it. Save as PDF on my desktop. SAR 404017. Okay, I've got that. Let me get this out of the way so I know what I'm doing here. Okay, so I don't need to be in Paragon anymore, but that's the document that was in the listing. Okay, we're just going to do this one. I know there should be a lead-based paint in Exhibit A, but for these purposes, we want to keep it moving along. Okay, so we've got these documents. We want to add one, so we're going to go to Forms and Documents now, upload a file. So this is where we're going to upload that PDF, SAR something something. There it is, SAR 404. Open. Okay, good. So these are the documents that we want. Now we're going to design. The only one we're going to have to design really is going to be that last one. Okay, ta-da, there it is. All this is fine. I want to get down to the bottom. And seller disclosure. So here is where the seller's JK, they've done all that. The seller's initialed all that. They filled all this out, obviously. And here's where we want to show that we have acknowledged that we've seen it, but we haven't waived any rights. So I'm going to drag and drop, sign here, do that, and hit next. Okay, custom invitation, offer on Magnolia. I was sleeping in high school typing. Magnolia message. Joe, I hope you are having fun in the Antarctic. Please sign this offer so I can submit today. Okay, you guys get the message. Save. Now let's send. So just like we did before on the listing, now let's say Joe Kelly is down in the Antarctic on a boat, which I'm sure doesn't have internet connection, but let's say it does. Eating a baguette in Paris, wherever. He can be anywhere in the world with his smartphone. If it's hooked up and he's got access to his email, he's going to get this, and he can go ahead and sign the offer wherever he is. Okay, so okay. There's our little lightning bolt. So it's going through the system. It's going through all those different servers in the cloud and all that good stuff until it gets to our email. Make sure none of those are goofy. Oh, come on. Oh, here, come on. Something's coming in. Well, there's the signing action from before. Here we go. Offer. There it is. Click here. It is a lot of information too. I mean, these are pretty big files, the documents and all that. So that's why it does take a while. And we've seen it with Instanet, DocuSign, Transaction Desk. It's always okay. So 4897000. Let's see if it's that. Ah, it is. Okay, so Joseph Kelly is the buyer, so we want to make sure that's right. Again, we can draw a signature. Oh, I don't know why it's not drawing. Anyway, clear, close. I don't want to draw it. Let's just accept this one. Okay, let's start. So we can sign that. Offer looks good. Got an initial there. Initial, 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 initial. Aha. And sign seller disclosure. Complete the signing. No thanks. Now it has been sent back through the cloud, back through the servers. So we want to get our blue ribbon for having a successful offer. No, still not through. Let's check questions. Normal transaction, how many days do you recommend offer to expire? From Lynn. It depends, Lynn. It depends on where you are. You know, people, the circumstances are all different. So my canned answer is 2 days. So you want to give them 2 days. But if you're in a hot market, you know, there's some people that make offers. They're like, well, accept this in 3 hours or not. You know, they get kind of crazy. So 1 day is really the minimum, or take instruction from the listing agent. If the listing agent says reviewing offers on Wednesday at 5 o'clock, then I would put, you know, Wednesday and default to 9 p.m. So you want to work with them a little bit. Don't get crazy and be like, well, we really want this house, so you've got 2 hours to accept an offer. It's like, you know, some people are busy, they're working, they're at the gym. I mean, they just can't get it done in 2 hours, and it's not enough time. So 1 day, if it's a rush, 2 days is pretty normal, but take your cue from them. They might be like, hey, we're traveling back from the Antarctic. It's going to take us a couple days. We're going to review offers on Saturday at noon. So then it's like, okay, fine. Those are the circumstances. We'll make our offer expire Saturday at 9. Let's go back through this sucker. There's our blue ribbon. See that, Alex? You can win the blue ribbon. Bingo. So there it is. Okay, so let's take a look at our offer. Open signing history. We don't want to delete it. Documents. Here they are. Okay, so these all should be signed. Now you can do all of these and save them as a PDF. Let's see, basket. Let's see, merge, copy to cloud, download to zip, print. And I typically, so send via fax, via email. Recipient's name, Joe Kelly. And recipient, now this is where you'd put in the listing agent, okay? So the listing agent is whom you are sending these documents. And their subject, offer on Magnolia. Message, please review and accept. Okay, send as an attachment. Send. Okay, so the email has been sent with this offer. So now we leave it in the hands of the listing agent, who just happens to be Joe Kelly as well. We leave it in their hands so that they can present the offer and do whatever they're going to do. They might want to do it in person, print it out, do wet signatures, or if they want their offer to be accepted digitally, they can deal with their transaction desk stuff. Let's close that. If I go back here, here's the offer. Oh, we've already signed this one. So, and there's a track record. I mean, all this stuff is saved, so if it ever gets legal, you can go back into Transaction Desk years later and say, I need this file. This is how we do audits now. Let's go back here. Let's send, receive. And yeah, email slow. Okay, well, you guys get the idea. So an offer comes through, and then they print it up and they present it to their clients. Remember, every offer that comes through, even if you've already got accepted offer, every offer that comes through, you have to present to your client. Some clients get a little goofy and they're like, you know, don't worry about it. I don't want to see anymore. State law says you have to do that. You've got to present it. Just send it in an email form. Just say, hey, I just want to send it to you so you have it. If they say, well, I don't want you to send it, say it's state law. I'm required to. So you can delete it, do whatever you want, but at least send it to them so that you have presented it. Okay, questions? Lynn, let's see. What happens if we use Transaction Desk and listing agent uses DocuSign or doesn't use e-sign of any type? Oh, I think I covered that. They can just print it off. So it's an email to them. Again, if I could get my email to work here, let's get out of it, and then we'll go back into it. That hopefully makes it a little more clear. Come on, Mr. Email, load. There it is. Whoops. Final revision, offer. Here it is. Okay, so this is the offer. So pretend I am the listing agent. I just got this offer in, and all I have to do. Oh, wait, no. Why am I just absolutely? Here we go. Save or print or download. That's a certificate. So here it is. So here's the PDF, Lynn, that they can take. So it's an offer. It's signed. They can print this or they can email it. So you've got 16 pages. You've got all this stuff signed. I would typically, you have to get a copy of the earnest money check and whatever other documents are out there. But, you can just save it and send it, or bam, just print this sucker and bring it out there because they don't have a computer. Like my parents, they don't have a computer. So I'd have to bring it out to them. I'd have to have a glass of scotch with my dad, and he would wet sign it, and that's that. So at 84, he has that right to not have a computer. So anyway, so you can do it that way. And I will get out of my email. And I'll get out of that. And I'll open up the chat room. Okay, whew, we covered a lot today. Um, that's effectively transaction desk electronic signatures. So it's not too complicated, but walk yourself through it. Don't just try to assume you can learn it on the first try. Do a sample transaction. Do a sample listing. Make an offer and send it to yourself like I just did. Practice with it a little bit. That way you kind of know where the buttons are, you know what the forms are, you know what it all looks like. If you have a question, obviously you can ask me or Alex. We are here to help, but for the most part, that's it. And again, form simplicity, DocuSign, they're all kind of the same. You just get in there and play with it a little bit and get a feel for it. Okay. Any other final questions? Okay, well, that completes our webinar on e-signatures transaction desk here, January 31st, 2018. I appreciate all of you joining me. Next week, we will have another webinar Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. And until then, have a very, very good week. Now, remember to market. Sell to your neighbors. Let them know you're a real estate agent. Make sure that they understand that springtime is right around the corner. If they're going to list a house or know anybody that's going to list a house, they want to contact you. So that's it, everybody. Have a good week. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.